In this video lesson, we'll be interpreting linear functions. We are given a context, and this context is of a linear function. Marie rented a kayak. The kayak rental shop charges a flat fee and an additional cost per hour. The equation below shows the amount of money it would cost to rent a kayak for X hours. And we are asked to graph the function, and we're also given a table of values here that we can use. This happens to be a Google Doc, and this is a Google drawing, so if I double click on it, I can edit it. And we've got some text boxes in here, which is nice. So I can start with 0 hours, because that's the smallest number of hours I could rent the kayak for, correct? And if I rented the kayak for 0 hours, all of a sudden I rented it, but then, I don't know, I started paddling and realized, oh, I don't feel good, I'm gonna have to return this kayak. That is still gonna cost me $10, right? Because 4 times 0 is 0 plus 10. What if I rented for 1 hour? Well, the $10 plus 4 times 1 is 14. I rented for 2 hours. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 10 is 18. And we can see what's happening. As the number of hours increases by 1, what's happening to the cost? It increases by 4. And that's called the rate of change. That's one of the questions we'll have to answer. As I complete these tables, I always think, what do these numbers mean in the context of the problem, right? Now what I do is I go over and I'm going to put a shape down here to represent these ordered pairs, and I'll use a nice color here that's like the color of water. And 0, 10 is an ordered pair. We're going to have to interpret that. That's a y-intercept. We have to figure out what that means. 1, 14 says 1 to the right, 14 up. I'm just doing Command C and Command V. I have a Mac. Control C, Control V if you have a PC. 3 hours in, it's going to cost, what was it? What was this? 2 hours in, excuse me. It costs $18. And when I'm done, these dots should all lie in a line, right? Because it's a linear function. 3 hours in is going to be 22. So you can see that I'm going to go on my graph. It looks like I'm going up 2 here and to the right 1. But it's really up 2 spaces and to the right 1 space. And that one there was 5, 30, which is definitely on my table. So that's my graph of my function. And it asked me for the rate of change, and what does the rate of change mean in the context of the problem? Okay, the rate of change. We said the rate of change is 4, and the 4 represents, for each additional hour to rent the canoe or the kayak, it costs $4 more. And then we talked about the y-intercept of 10. I knew that the y-intercept was 10 from my graph. But what is 10 in the context of this problem? Well, sometimes you can look at, your label on your y-axis, but here it's the cost to rent the kayak for 0 hours. In other words, it's the initial value or the flat fee that the problem talked about. And then if Marie spent $30 on the kayak, how many hours did she rent it? All right, if she spent $30 on the kayak, we're going to need to we could take our graph right here, and we can see that. If she spent $30, it would be 5 hours. Same thing with the table. If she spent 30, it would be for 5 hours. And we also could have figured that out with the equation, but why bother if it's there on the table? So if Marie spent $30 on the kayak, she rented it for 5 hours. No, yes, 5 hours. And how we can show that using the equation is 30 equals 4 times 5 plus 10. 30 equals 20 plus 10. So we got some practice interpreting linear models, looking at the slope and the y-intercept in terms of the context.